we have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. Thought is a material process, a movement. When there is no movement, there is something totally original, something totally untouched by humanity, untouched by all the movement of thought. Hello and welcome to episode 268 of Urgency of Change. Each episode of the Krishnamurti podcast is based on a significant theme of his talks. Extracts from the archives are being selected to represent Krishnamurti's different approaches to these universal and timelessly relevant topics. This episode's theme is movement. Upcoming topics are respectability, thinking, and sensitivity. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. Please visit our website at kfoundation.org, where you can find a popular collection of quotes, a variety of featured articles, along with a wide selection of curated material in the index of topics. This allows easy access to book, audio and video extracts. Our online store stocks the best of Krishnamurti's books and ships worldwide. We also offer free downloads, including a selection of booklets. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on movement has 3 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's third talk in Saanen 1973 and is titled Thought is Movement in Time.
Time is movement. Time, movement, as moving from here to there, going to the room I live in. That takes time. Psychologically, also it's a movement from what is and changing that to what should be. What is the result of the past, which is a movement in time to the present, and what should be is the movement in the future. The whole movement is time. And thought is always a process in time. For thought is the response of memory, which is the past, which is the knowledge which is the past, and according to that conditioning, it reacts, which is a movement. So thought is a movement in time. And analysis is a movement in time. Now, can this analysis in time, and analysis means time. Analysis means the movement of thought examining itself. And if you go into it deeply, Our conditioning is to analyze. We are conditioned to that. And we never see that the cause becomes the effect and the effect becomes the cause. Right? That's a movement in time. So through analysis, there is no freedom from time. Analysis does not free the mind, which is the result of time. Right? I wonder if you see this. Please, if you don't understand this, we'll ask questions afterwards. Keep your question if you don't understand it. And I hope we understand this fairly simple. It is fairly simple if you observe it in yourself. I'm angry. I analyze the cause. And in the process of analysis, I come to a conclusion, which is the effect. And that conclusion becomes the cause to a next effect. All that is a movement of thought in time. Thought is time. And thought has built this conditioning. After all, our culture is the result of thought. As feeling, physical responses, and so on. So, analysis cannot possibly resolve the conditioning of the human mind. I hope it's clear. Not the verbal statement, but the truth of it. The actual fact of it. Not the assertion or the repetition that analysis will not free the mind. That has no value. So, the mind, seeing the falseness of analysis, discovers the truth that lies, that analysis does not free the mind. That is, discovering the truth in the false. I wonder if you get all this. Then, analysis also implies not only the conscious mind, of the conscious mind, but also the deep layers of the unconscious, which is also the result of time. This division between the conscious and the unconscious is artificial. Consciousness is total. We may divide it, we may break it up to examine. But it's a total movement within the field, within the area of time. And the unconscious becomes not important when you are able to look at the whole of consciousness and its content. You understand? We look at ourselves fragmentarily. We look at ourselves through the action of thought. Am I making any sense? No? One moment, we'll discuss it a little later. Let me talk a while, if you don't mind. Look, sir, my consciousness is a total movement. My consciousness can be broken up as the conscious as the unconscious, as action and inaction, as greed, envy, non-envy. It's a total thing. It's a total movement which can be fragmented in order to examine. And I see that examination of fragments doesn't bring about a comprehension of the total. Right? What is needed is to be aware of the total, not merely of the fragments. To be aware of the whole movement of consciousness which is in the area of time, right? Can I, as thought, explore this consciousness? Won't somebody meet me halfway in this? So what I'm trying to say is, I have never personally analyzed myself at all. What has happened is to observe, and the very observation reveals the total. Because there is no intention of going beyond what is. Going beyond what is the movement in time. Is that fairly clear? I'll go on to you to get it. So I see clearly the mind can, without analysis, discover, see, observe, the total movement of consciousness. That's one point. What we are concerned with is whether the mind can free itself from its conditioning. We see, I see, not you. I see it cannot free itself from its conditioning through analysis. That's very clear. And logically, sanely, reasonably it is so if you go into it. All that involves time, and through time, to dissolve time is not possible. Then, can thought dissolve it? Can thought transform, free the mind from the conditioning? Now, please listen to this. Thought is movement in time. Thought is movement, and therefore time. And the examination by thought of the movement of the conditioning is still within the field of time. Therefore, thought cannot possibly resolve the conditioning, because it is thought as knowledge, experience, memory that has brought about this civilization in which the mind has been educated. That's clear. So thought cannot resolve it. Analysis cannot, thought cannot. Then what have you? You understand? We have used thought as a means of conquering, destroying, changing, analyzing, overcoming. And I see thought cannot possibly bring freedom to the mind. So thought is movement. Wait a minute. Non-movement is freedom from time. Right? Non-movement of thought is a state in which the mind is free from time. Now, I'll go into this. You will see this. The conditioning of civilization, culture, has said, I must be competitive. Has taught me to be violent, or rather helped me to be more violent. So the mind is violent. That is what is. Can the mind be free of violence, which is what is, without the movement of thought? You've understood my question? I'm violent. And thought says, it is necessary in this civilization to be somewhat violent. Thought says, overcome that violence. Thought says, control that violence. Utilize that violence. Which is encouraging, controlling, shaping that violence for its own purposes. That's what we are doing all the time. So thought, being a movement, is all the time acting upon what is, which is also the result of time and thought, right? Now, can thought have no movement at all, but only the what is remains, and no interference of thought with regard to what is. You understand what I'm saying? Look, sir, I'm violent. I know all the causes, how it has come about. I won't go into it. That's fairly clear. Part of the culture, part of the economic situation, encouragement, education, so on. Right. I'm violent. That's a fact. That is what is. Can the mind look at what is without any movement? Any movement is time. Right? So can the mind observe that violence without non-thought? That is, without time. Have you understood my question? At least. Because all my conditioning says, use thought, control it, shape it, put it away, struggle against it, fight it. It's ugly to be violent. You want to be peaceful. Human beings should be peaceful. So it has all the reasons, justifications, condemnations, which are all movements of thought, and thought is time and movement is time. And there is only the fact that this human being is violent. That's the only what is. That's clear up to there. Can the mind look at what is without any movement? Right? And then look at what is. Let's examine what is. The what is violence. Right? And I've used a word to indicate a feeling which I've called violence. I've used a word that I've used a word with its meaning which I've already used before. Right? So I am recognizing the feeling in terms of the old. When I recognize something, it must be the old. So what is the result of thought. Right? And the mind meets without movement, which means without time, that which has been put together by thought, which I have called violence. So when non-movement meets time, thought, which is the movement of time, then what takes place? You're following all this? Look, sir, my son dies. I suffer a great deal for various reasons. Loneliness, despair, and so on, so on. Then thought comes along, or thought says, I must overcome it. What is suffering. And the movement of thought is time. And the mind meets that suffering and tries to do something about it. Get away from it, run away from it, seek comfort, seances, mediums, belief. It goes through all that process, which is all a movement of time as thought. Now, to meet that suffering without any movement, then what takes place? Have you ever tried this? Have you? If you have, you will see the non-movement completely transforms the movement of time. That means suffering doesn't leave a mark on the mind at all. Because non-movement is timeless. And that which we call suffering is time. And that cannot possibly touch that which is not of itself. Well, I must go on. Sorry if you don't understand this. So the mind being conditioned through culture, through environment, through knowledge, through experience, all that is the movement of time. And thought is also movement of time, is movement. So the thought cannot possibly transform or free the mind from its conditioning, nor analysis. So, can the mind observe this conditioning, this educated entity, without any movement? Then you will see, if you do it, that all sense of control, imitation, conformity totally disappears.
The second extract is from the 7th talk in Saanen 1976 and is titled When the Movement of the Past Meets the Now.
Thought has divided itself as movement, chattering, thinking about various things. When you want to look at something, concentrate, it goes off thinking about your shoes or something or other. And there's another thought which says, I mustn't do that, I must control it. So both are thought. one assumes the dominance and tries to suppress the other. See this. See the validity of what is being said, not because I say it, it is so. That is one, a thought says, it would be marvelous if I could control the thought which is wandering so that I can experience nirvana or whatever that wants to experience. So there is a division, please observe it, between the controller and that which needs to be controlled. And so there is a conflict between the controller and the controlled. And there are various systems that will help you to control. Which is one of the systems is become very slowly aware of everything you are doing. Your breathing, your posture, it's all too, I can't bear with all that kind of stuff. So, what is important is to find out whether there is only thinking, not the thinker and the thought. And so the thinker controlling thought. So there is only thinking. You understand? Whether you think about bootlaces or about God or about your wife or about some future happiness, whatever it is still thinking. So we are concerned not with how to control thought, but what is the whole process of thinking. Now, if one is aware of all that, then there is only thinking. You understand? Not the thought which is wandering and the controller which says, I must control it. So there is only thinking. Why should it stop? You understand? If there is only thinking, why should it stop? So, thinking is a movement, isn't it? Thinking is a movement. Movement in time. From here to there and so on. Thinking is a movement as time. Now, can that time come to an end? That is the question, not how to stop thinking. Have you understood my question first? We have laid emphasis in meditation, people have, the gurus and all the rest of the group, have laid emphasis on control. Where there is control, there must be effort. There must be conflict. There must be suppression. And where there is suppression, there are all kinds of neurotic behavior and so on, so on, so on. So is it possible, please listen, is it possible to live without any control? You understand? Which doesn't mean to do what you like, be completely permissive. You understand? We are asking much more serious question, which is, can, in your daily life, psychologically, can you live without any control whatsoever? You can. We have done it. I am not, please, this is a very, very serious thing, because we don't know a life in which there is no shadow of control. We all know only control. So to understand that, a life without control, one must go into it very, very deeply. That is, control exists where there is comparison. I compare myself with you, and I want to be like you, because you are more intelligent, more bright, more spiritual, God knows what else. So I want to be like you. So I make an effort to be like you. If there is no comparison whatsoever psychologically, what takes place? I am what I am. I don't know what I am, but I am that. There is no movement towards something which I think is more. So what takes place? When there is no comparison, what has taken place? Am I dull because I have compared myself with you who are clever, bright, and therefore I become dull? Or the very word dull makes me dull. You understand meaning? You okay? I wonder if you understand all this. You know, when we go to a museum, we look at various pictures and we say, we compare Michelangelo, various artists, and say this better than that. We are traditionally trained that way. In the school we are saying you must be better than A. And you struggle to be A. And college examinations and the whole movement of that is comparison. Make effort. Now we are saying, when you understand the movement of measurement, and when you see the unreality of it psychologically, then you have what is. You understand? You have exactly what is. You can only meet what is when you have energy. That energy has been dissipated in comparison. Right? So now you have that energy to observe what is. To observe the now with that energy. Therefore, what is now undergoes a radical transformation. So, thought has divided itself as the controller and the controlled. But there is only thinking. There is no controller or the control, but only the act of thinking. Thinking is a movement in time as measure. And can that naturally, easily, without any control, come to an end? You understand my question? When I make an effort to bring it to an end, thinking is still in operation. I've deceived myself by saying the thinker is different from the thought. So my question is entirely different, which is, there is only thinking. The thinker is the thought. There is no thinker if there is no thought. And therefore, can this thinking, which is a movement in time, come to an end? Which is, can time have a stop? Now, I'll show you, if you go into it, We say, time, please, Peg, if you are tired, take rest, and I'll stop too. If you're not tired, we'll go on. Time is the past. Right? There is no future time. There is future time only when the past meets the present, modifies it, and moves on. So, time is a movement from the past, modified, but still moving on. We are saying that movement must stop. You understand? Which is the whole movement of knowledge. Right? Which is the whole movement of that which has been known. Unless you are free from that movement, there is no freedom to observe the new. You understand? So we are saying that movement must stop. Now, you can't stop it by will, which is control. You can't stop it by desire, which is part of your sensation, thought, image. And so how is this movement to come to an end? Naturally, please, naturally, easily, happily, so that it comes to an end without your knowing. Have you ever given up something that gives you great pleasure at the moment? Drop it instantly. Have you ever done it? You can do it with pain and sorrow. I'm not talking of that, because you want to forget it, put it away. But something that gives you immense pleasure. Have you ever done it? To drop it instantly, there is without any effort. Have you? I show you. Which is, the past is always our background. We live in the past. He has hurt me, he has told me, I want this, you follow? Our whole life is spent in the past. The incident of now is transformed into memory, and memory becomes the past. So we live in the past. The movement of the past, can that stop? That's what we are asking. You understand? Now, it can stop only, this is not a trick. This isn't something you repeat and say, yes, I've stopped it. That's too damn silly. It means that the past, which is a movement, and the now, which is non-movement. You understand? You understood this? I just discovered something. The past is the movement modified through the present to the future. That's the movement of time. The past is a movement, always moving, going forward, meeting the present and moving. The now is non-movement. Because you don't know what the now is. You only know movement, right? When that movement meets the now, there is no movement at all. You understand? No, please, this is not a verbal communication. This has to be felt, known deeply, understood. See, the immovable is the now. The now is the past meeting the present. We said that, remember? The past meeting the present and ending there. That's the now. So the movement of the past meets the now, which is immovable, and stops. You understand? So, thought, which is a movement of the past, meets the present completely and ends there. This has to be meditated over, thought over. You'll go into it. So the next thing is mind, which is not only a matter, which is the brain, which is also sensation, which is also all the things that thought has put into that mind, which is consciousness. In that consciousness, there are all the various unconscious demands. And we are asking, can that totality of consciousness be observed as a whole? Not fragment by fragment. You understand my question? Because if we examine fragment by fragment, it will be endless. It is only when there is an observation of the totality there is an ending to it, or leading to something else. You understand? So can this totality of consciousness be observed totally? It can, or if you will do it, which is, when you look at a map, on a karta, when you see a map, you are looking at it with the desire to go to a certain place. So there is a direction. So when you are seeking a direction, it's very simple. Right? That you are in this town, you want to go to Bern or Zurich or Geneva, whatever it is, and you go, the direction is there. So, to observe the whole map is to have no direction. That's simple. Isn't it? See how simple it is, for God's sake, don't make it complicated. So in the same way, to look at this whole consciousness is to have no direction, which means is to have no motive. Because the moment when you look into a map, you want to go from here to there, you have a motive for going there. You have pleasure, or you want this or that. So, your motive gives the direction. But when you can observe, to observe totally yourself or your consciousness, is to have no motive and therefore no direction. Then you see the whole, as you see when you look at a map wholly. Right? You don't misplace Germany where Italy, or Italy where England is. So you look at the whole map when there is no direction, which means no motive. So to observe your consciousness wholly, there must be no motive, no direction. And is that possible? When you have been trained to everything to do and to act with a motive. There is no action without a motive. That's what we are trained, what we are educated for. All our religions, everything saying you must have a motive. But the moment you have a motive, which is either pleasure or pain, reward or punishment, that gives you a direction, and therefore you can never see the whole. If you understand, see that, actually, then you have no motive. Not how am I to get rid of my motive. You understand? You can only see something totally when there is no direction. All this is part of meditation, you understand? So that there is no center from which a direction can take place. You understand? The center is the motive. If there is no motive, there is no center. And therefore no direction. Therefore, what then? Then there are all these systems of yoga. You know what yoga means? Yoga means to join. I think I've been told too, it is quite a wrong meaning. That originally, as I suspected, something totally different, which is total harmony. Not by doing exercises, breathing, you will get harmony, but the way of living itself is harmony. You understand? And you can only do that when you have understood relationship. You follow? So, are you following all this? So the mind, I must go into something else too here. In doing all this, in living that way daily, you have certain powers. You understand? What they in Sanskrit call siddhis, which is you have become clairvoyant. Because your body becomes astonishingly sensitive. Your mind becomes very clear. You can read other people's thoughts. You have certain capacities which you have never had before. Telepathy and all the rest of it. Now, we have been through all that. But to be caught in any of that, you can't go further. You understand? There's no move. No, I won't say move. If you're caught in all that rather childish stuff, it is quite childish. If you have a very sensitive body, you understand? You can almost hear what people say, think, all that. And gives you certain powers, certain capacities. But if those become important, then you have lost the whole thing. And also they are now talking about, unfortunately, these people that know nothing, talking about Kundalini and all. I won't go into all that. So, now the mind is prepared. You understand? Is prepared to observe without any movement. You've got it? Because you have understood authority, you have understood all the rest of it. I won't go into all that. To stand completely alone, to be a light to yourself, therefore no impingement. Therefore, the mind is not registering the brain, which we went into the other day. So the mind now is without a single movement. Right? Therefore, it is silent. Not imposed silence, not cultivated silence, which is, you understand, it's no meaning, but a silence that is not the result of stopping something, stopping noise. You understand? It is a natural outcome of the daily living. And the daily living has its beauty. And this beauty is part of this non-movement. I must talk about beauty. What is it? This. We'll talk. Maybe we'll talk another 10 minutes more. I talk and you listen. If you are sharing with me, what is beauty? Is it the description? Is it the thing that you see, the proportions, the height, the depth, the shadows? A picture by Michelangelo or the statue of his. What is beauty? Is it in your eye or it is there, out there? Or it is not in your eye or out there. You understand what I'm talking about? We say that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful architecture, marvelous cathedral, or a lovely painting. It's out there. Or is it in the eye? Because it's been trained, it's been observing, it's seen that which is ugly and not proportionate, not having no depth, no silence, no... Is it out there, or is it in the eye, or it has nothing to do with the eye, or with that outside? I'm asking you. Beauty is when you are not. Right? You understand? When you look, it is you are looking. You are judging. You are saying that is in marvelous proportion. That is so still, that has got depth, that has got such grandeur. But it's all you looking, giving it importance. But when you are not there, that is beauty. You understand? Oh, you don't know. And when that beauty is there, that expression of it may never take place. You understand? But we want to express it. Because that's self-fulfillment. I'm an artist, I'm great. You follow? Therefore, beauty may be when you as a human being, with all your travail, with your anxiety, pain, sorrow are not there, there is beauty. So the mind now is still, without a movement. Then you ask, then when investigating, not investigating, because all investigation, all movement has stopped. Then, what is there when movement stops? You understand? Is compassion a movement? One is compassionate, one goes and does something for another, goes to some Indian village or some village and helps the people because you are compassionate. So all that is various forms of sentimentality, affection and so on, but we're asking something much more important, which is when there is no movement of the mind, no movement, then what takes place? What is there? We're asking, is it compassion? Or is it beyond all that? Which is there something that is totally original and therefore sacred? You understand? Because we know, we don't know what is sacred. Our images are sacred. Whether you go to a church or a temple or a mosque, our images are sacred. But the images are put together by thought. So thought is material process, movement. So when there is no movement, is there something totally original, totally untouched by humanity, untouched by all the movement of thought? Therefore, that may be that which is original and therefore most holy. Do you understand? This is real meditation. To start from the very beginning, not knowing. Please, if you start with knowing, you end up in doubt. You understand? If you start with not knowing, you end up with absolute truth, which is certainty. I wonder if you capture this. Because we began by saying we must investigate into ourselves, and ourselves is the known, therefore empty the known. So from that emptiness, all the rest of it flows naturally. So where there is something most holy, which is the whole movement of meditation, then life has a totally different meaning. It is never superficial, never.
The final extract in this episode is from a direct recording by Krishnamurti in 1970 and is titled Ending the Movement of Association.
First we said, observe. Observe a fragment, not of the totality or the many fragments, just one fragment. When you became aware of that fragment, it was painful. That is what actually is. Then the mind becomes weary of it, tired, withdraws, disassociates, becomes the observer and moves away from it. This is the habit of the mind. Now be aware of that habit, not of the pain. Wait, go slow. Be aware of this habit of withdrawing, whether it's of pleasure, pain, fear, whatever, withdrawing.
But why did I withdraw if I really was aware of what is?
Because you are not aware. We said awareness implies...
I had the fragment and I was...
And remain with... Watch it. Watch the whole movement.
But the whole movement was one away. It did not...
Yeah, watch that. Watch that movement away from it.
But that's an evasion. That's
But
thought.
doesn't matter.
The
That's good enough.
duality.
You are missing the point. When you move away from pain, what is the movement away.
But then so is everything else.
Wait,
that comes into
lady,
my mind.
wait, go slowly. Oh, you're moving. You see, you're getting more. Watch. Therefore, you see what is a constant movement. You're missing the point.
Yes, I am.
Look, please just listen now. Don't say I don't see. Just watch it. We said, be aware, and you said I am aware of one fragment which gives pain. I said, well, be aware of that pain. Watch it. Then the mind moves away from it. The moving away from it is what is. And it moves away to something else. So you're watching the movement, not do something. So what is the movement. Right, so far? That movement is not pain or pleasure or association with something.
It is association with something.
Why?
Because the movement, the mind works.
Just then, look.
It is that chain. It
Yeah,
goes
wait,
back to
that's
that
the whole
chain.
point. I'm coming to that's the whole point. Which means your movement is in the direction of association. It's not a movement, but only a movement in relation to something already fixed.
One association begets another.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now,
that's the chain.
that is the chain. So we said, be aware of one link of this chain. Entirely, be with it. Watch it. Watch how the mind is incapable of observation completely without moving away from it. The movement, there are only two things. The movement away and the movement and what is. Right? What is?
They're the same thing in me.
So what does that mean? You see, it reveals one thing, that the mind is never quiet. It moves in association, from association to association. It's never quiet with the one fragment, with the one link. Is caught in the movement of association, which is a process, which is mechanical. And therefore, despair that it can never end. And therefore, accept things as they are. And therefore, it becomes the dead weight of the past. Now, the mind observing that one fragment, which is pain, if it is not caught in the movement of association, it observes with absolute quietness. As you observe that flower, absolutely quiet. In that quiet observation, there is no observer, and therefore no movement of association. It is the observer who separates himself from the thing observed that is caught in the movement of association. Right? All this is part of awareness. To observe, to be aware of the fragment, and to be aware how restless the mind is through association, and to be aware of that restlessness, to be completely aware of that restlessness, and to be aware of that restlessness so completely is possible only when the mind is really quiet, to observe.
But if the mind is restless, it's not quiet.
No. You got away from it again. The mind is restless because it has not understood the movement of association, not seen the truth or the falseness of this movement of association. If you see that, if you see the truth of it, how endless the stupid mechanistic process of association is, then the very observation of that truth ends the association. Because you don't see it, therefore it goes on with a mechanistic habit.